I've spent 6 years coaching people to get lean, and I've coached over 100 people, and I've noticed the same pattern of what they do. Every successful client had one thing in common. Every person who failed had the opposite. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the one thing that you can change today that is going to speed up your fat loss results without a shadow of a doubt. Clients that always do the best are the most resilient to slip-ups. They were the ones who get back on track after they fall off track. And this is because they had high resilience and they return to their baseline behavior. Now, before I run you through how to actually cope with those slip-ups, I'm going to run you through the mental toughness framework. So as you can see here, we've got behavior level on the left. This is high to low. This is our normal baseline. Now, this negative event is something that might be an argument with a partner. And because you can't cope with those negative emotions, the stress gets really, really high. Your tolerance gets exceeded. So then go to food to cope with maybe how you've dealt with that, to almost use as a scapegoat and a coping mechanism. So from there, we've got the tolerance. How much shit can you take before we start to see that fortitude? How deep is the drop? How much of a hole gets created? How much of a change in your behavior takes place after your tolerance gets exceeded? Then we've got the resilience. How long does it take for you to recover after that drop has taken place? For some successful clients, it takes around a day. After we've slipped up on a diet, we might have gone to food to cope with some stress or a negative event that might have happened. It takes them about a day, from what I've found, to get back to their normal baseline of behavior. For unsuccessful clients, after they've had like a bit of a slip up, they've on a weekend off track, it takes them a good 3 to 7 days. And then next thing you know, it's been 7 days of no progress. And from there, it really does make it even harder to get back on track. So once we get back to normal baseline, depending on how negative that event was, we also get a position where your baseline behavior might be a little bit worse. This is where you might have a little bit of trauma, where you're actually worse off after that negative event. Now, for a lot of my successful clients, a negative event happens, they bounce right back to the normal baseline behavior, and they actually become better. Now, I'm going to run you through how Stephen got this result, because we worked on his resilience to those negative events that actually always happen and come about in life. We never really want to wait for that perfect stress-free time in life, because it never fucking comes, does it? He was going through Monday through till Thursday, he was bang on. Something would happen at work on a Friday, and that would actually just throw him off track for the rest of the weekend. So with the coaching that we had together, we worked on repairing that. We worked on that specific problem that he had. And then from there, over the course of 9 months, which again, it's not a short-term fix, 9 months, we got that result. So these are the exact fixes that you can employ today to work on how you react to these slip-ups. Number 1, don't catastrophize. In the moment, it's very easy to do so, but realize that it's not all going to go to shit. And all you need to do is work on returning back to that baseline behavior. Those thoughts will come in your head of, what's the point? I can't be arsed now. I will get back on track on Monday. But it's you catastrophizing in the moment, thinking it's all gone really bad, when in reality, it's just one small negative event that you're making the choice to dictate how you behave for the few days after. Unless you're a robot, you need to expect these slip-ups to happen. Unless you're perfect, which no one is, things will happen in your life. Stressful times might appear. Family members might die. People might get ill. People might need to rely on you a lot more often. You might have kids. They're going to stress you out. X, Y, and Z might happen. This is a vital skill that you need to learn. What you need to do is reframe the setback. Reframe it that it's temporary, it's not permanent. Because reframing that setback improves reliably the recovery from that setback. And having people to support you through processing that event, such as a coach, is mightily important as well. And again, is another consistent predictor of improved recovery to stressful and negative events that take place. The next one is, if you can articulate what a negative event meant, what can you learn from it? How can you look at it in a slightly different way? Look at it in terms of a data point. What data did that give you that to take into future scenarios just like that? Because if you can look at an event and figure out what it teaches you, you can then bounce back to a higher baseline than usual. Another thing is, having successfully recovered from negative events in the past, again, is clear-cut data points that you can always refer back to, knowing that you have done this before. You know how to get back on track. And over time, the speed at which you can return to that baseline behavior gets improved every time you go through a setback. And also approaching the problem rather than just avoiding it is key as well. And this is also correlated with a shorter dip duration. Instead of avoiding it, you tackle it head on, you don't bury your head in the sand, and you figure out, right, what went wrong and how can we learn from it from next time? Again, the key thing is return to baseline behavior. As soon as you've gone off track, you've ate way more food than you should have been eating, how quickly can you get back to doing what you were doing before that slip up? This is one of the key things that separates a successful diet from a failure. See you in 7 days.